And it's day 20. Welcome. Day 20 of the 75 Hard Challenge. And here I am, my live broadcast 20 in a row. 20 days of reading at least 15 pages a day, 20 days of 2 intervals of exercise of 45 minutes each, 20 days of being kind in a moment when you normally wouldn't be, 20 days of drinking a gallon of water each day, 20 days. Yeah, so here I am. One of the things I'm doing in this exploration is that I am also reading books. And the book I'm really into right now, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And it interests me because I'm super interested in helping people with their self-leadership, including myself. And so what's so important about self-leadership is that it is how we forge the way for how we want to live our lives, the people around us we're modeling for. It gives you a sense of purpose. And I don't mean purpose like, why have I been put on this earth? I actually think that this is a fallacy of our society, or I'm not sure exactly what I want to say of that, but people are chasing this purpose so that when they are on their deathbed, they can say, oh yeah, I have fulfilled my purpose. But I think that's a lofty thing that we can never really know until we're in our deathbed. And how are you supposed to measure that? Looking to the future or reviewing the past? I mean, we're quite critical animals. So if you're going to be so critical on yourself, how are you expected to measure what it looks like if you move forward with it? So this is my take on living your purpose, is if you understand a very clear, defined value system and a measurement of who you are and how you want to act and who you want to be, you don't have to measure to it all the time. And in that way, the purpose you're living is actually day to day. So you're living your purpose in the sense that you are how you're intended to be here. And I'll tell you, that's a lot easier to measure than looking back from your deathbed and either being disappointed that you didn't do enough or that you did enough. And so I'm on chapter 5 or something like that of this book, but I'm looking back at each chapter and kind of reviewing them. And chapter 3 is all about feelings. And I've had a couple people message about feelings in the last few days. And I actually had a couple people message me about last night's stream. So thank you. I mean, I think there was only 4 views at the time. So 50% of the people who watched it messaged to ask some questions. I appreciate that because, wow, what a way to exercise my own muscle around it. And the other thing is people have been asking about the feelings part. So I've been hesitant to actually do a stream on it. I've been hesitant to do a stream on it because it's affected me a lot. I got to be honest. And learning to actually feel my feelings or think about them in a way that are responsible and actually healthy, I'm finding that extremely challenging. And so much so that right before I hit live broadcast on this exact broadcast, I was ready to put the phone down. I didn't really want to do it. I'm feeling like I want to turtle up and say fuck it and just bury it down. So I think this is a great point to it. Um, Emotions aren't always comfortable, and I think we all know that we need to have feelings and emotions. And part of the challenge is that we're not always taught about how we can nurture a safe place for them, both for ourselves and for others. And so as I've been exploring this, I'm finding a lot more emotions coming out of me, and I'm feeling kind of overwhelmed about it. But here it goes anyway. So the book explores the idea that your feelings are actually, or you've probably heard this one before, um, emotions are in motion. They're like feelings in motion. And so most of the times your emotions actually have a physical representation or a physical manifestation. If you get sad, it might be in your belly. If you get angry, it might be in the back of your head or your neck, your shoulders, or tense feelings in your arms or chest. And there's a whole bunch of different examples of that. And so as I think about what is it I'm feeling in different moments, I'm actually trying really hard to let myself have those emotions, because studies show that those emotions only last for about 90 seconds, but we're so afraid uh, to have them. And I'll get into that a little bit more in a second, that we actually don't allow ourselves to have those emotions. And even though they only really last 90 seconds, if you don't tag on some drama to it, the 90 seconds we're so afraid of, because we're worried about what it means. What does it mean when I have this feeling or have this emotion? Sometimes that feeling is an icky feeling. Sometimes that feeling is an enraging feeling. And it all kind of just stems from 5 core emotions. But those feelings tell us something, which is important, but we also don't have to dwell on what we think it means. They can just simply be signs that we can let happen, let the feelings come up. There's a way to release them. So you don't bury them down, you don't shut them down, but you also don't let them come out in a way that hinders the experience that's happening, in terms of stopping the flow of that experience. Because it's very important that you can stay present in that and not let the feeling take you out of it, but at the same time acknowledge the feeling is something that's very important in the moment. So it's a fine balance. And uh, yeah, I'm appreciating talking this out. So thanks for listening, because it's a lot harder for me to kind of figure out when I'm just thinking about it. I reflect back on feelings I've had during conversations at work, feelings I had with my children, or feelings I have with my partner, and how they affect me based on how my body reacts and how I react to the feeling that's coming up and what it means. Feelings can also be an identifier of what the unconscious piece of you is having to deal with. So when you get that feeling, you get the intention of knowing that. So if you're feeling scared, you might feel like defending yourself, or building up a wall, or saving yourself. And that may not actually be in that exact moment. It might be about a different moment that's triggered that kind of expression. So this is where learning to let the feeling pass, so that you can explore the moment to see if it's actually a real thing. So is this something that's similar to something that happened to me previously, or is this something that is actually um, just have some similar characteristics to it, and that's why I'm getting this feeling that's coming up. So what I'm talking about right now is essentially just identifying it in the moment as it comes up. I'm not talking about how to release, how to move on, how to make sure that the feeling cycle doesn't have um, drama attached to it. As I said, studies show, the book quotes that studies show that emotions and feelings only last about 90 seconds in the moment. The reason they seem to go on longer is actually because we attach a cycle of either repetition or can't think of the word they use in the book right now. It's like recycling, essentially. So it comes up and then you dwell on it. So you had that feeling or that thought, like, oh, such and such is happening to me, and then it happened. Instead of just going, yeah, it happened, and I can address that or talk about it properly, you actually end up going like, oh, that thing's happening again, and then you kind of dwell on, why did this happen to me, or why is that person's doing this, or why is this something that happens to me all the time. And that's the additional added on kind of piece of that. And that's why sometimes those emotions, feelings seem to go on for much longer. So I'm not connecting these ideas to the rest of the book and how they tie into the commitments, but um, essentially, commitment 3 is that you will feel all the feelings. Now, feelings are good, emotions are good, and these are my words, not the book's words, but I'm trying to interpret properly. Essentially, there's a responsible way to have those feelings, and when I say responsible, I don't mean just like not do something crazy like flip a table and smash your hand through a window, but responsible to you as well, because you deserve to feel those feelings. So that's really important. And so there's a responsible way to process and release these feelings so that you can kind of get on with it. And when I say get on with it, it actually means get back in the flow. Now, in the book, they talk about being above the line. I talk about that a lot. But even just in a conversation or in a problem solving situation or a creative outlet, maybe you're designing something, or just with your children, you just need to get them fucking dressed and get them to school. You have feelings, you can have the feeling responsibly in front of your children, but also for yourself, and get back in the fucking flow of getting them to school. So, these are all things that are like super practical in everyday life, and that's what self-leadership's all about. And self-leadership is the first step to being a leader, like outwardly leading. So feel all the feelings. I've rambled on for a little while here, and hopefully it hasn't been too dark at times. Been trying to stop at the street lights where I can. And I'm going to talk more about this chapter probably a couple times, because this is the one I really want to focus on, because for me, I think it's one of my challenges. I think I'm actually quite a cerebral person. I think a lot. I probably overthink at times, and I'm also a big feeler, but I deny myself that, and so it sometimes shows up in a way that is not formidable, both for myself and for others, and also is challenging to the situation itself. Maybe you can relate to this. Maybe this is something that you can understand. Maybe feelings shuts you down. Maybe um, if you're at work and overwhelms one of the feelings, but then also on top of that, you're in a meeting and you get hurt. So now you're feeling two different feelings. You're hurt and overwhelmed. And combining those without releasing them, without properly allowing yourself to feel them, you also probably don't get to a place where you can resolve the situation for yourself. So it continues to be a challenge. I think that we can all relate to that in some form or another. No, thanks, Mr. Headlights. Um, and so, in that sense, it's really important for us to be able to understand and feel, or sorry, understand the concept of feelings. And then that allows us to feel things which essentially will help us in the long run and the short term as well. Whew, yeah, I hope this has been helpful. I'm Mark D, feeling all the feelings. Thanks for listening. I'm glad I came on because I don't feel so shut down anymore. I'm feeling much more open. And I love you. I hope you're doing well. I hope everything's going well. And thanks to those of you who stuck through the whole talk. There's been at least two of you who didn't leave. I really appreciate that, because it feels like I'm not alone in this journey. And I also don't want you to feel like you're alone in this journey. Just remember,